You reply instantly. You show up early. You say yes because you want to be helpful. And somehow the person who ignores texts, cancels plans and says no gets the respect you thought you earned. You watch it happen in real time. You feel your stomach tighten. You feel that quiet humiliation. They treat your loyalty like it's air. You keep giving because you think consistency will make them value you. And then you realize the worst truth. The more accessible you are, the more invisible you become. It's not fair, is it? But it is economics. You flooded the market with your presence. And when supply is high, value collapses. You made yourself free. So today you recall the supply. Today you raise the price. Today you stop being a public resource and become a private asset. Don't be free. Be expensive. And if that quote made your chest tighten, good. Because your entire life you were trained to confuse moral goodness with strategic weakness. You were trained to believe accessibility is kindness, responsiveness is character, and availability is love. That training did not make you respected. It made you useful. It made you manageable. It made you cheap. Here is the forbidden question you've been avoiding because it sounds cold. But it is the only question that matters in power dynamics. Is your generosity actually the reason they disrespect you? Not because generosity is wrong, because generosity without pricing creates contempt. Because generosity without boundaries becomes a clearance sale on your self-worth. Because the social hierarchy does not reward the person who overgives. It rewards the person who controls access. Air is vital, but it is free because it is everywhere. Gold is nearly useless but expensive because it is hidden. And in this video, you're going to weaponize that truth with economic psychology, Machiavellian strategy, and the scarcity principle. So you stop being treated like a commodity and start being treated like a luxury asset. You will learn the exact way high-value people signal status without begging for it. You will learn the difference between being expensive and being arrogant. You will learn how to raise your value without saying a single extra word. And yes, you will learn the one rule that quiet power uses daily: access is the currency of respect. If these ideas resonate with you, hit that subscribe button for more top-tier content. Also drop expensive in the comments so I know you're ready. Let's dive in. You were taught that being easy to reach makes you lovable. You were taught that being dependable makes you respected. You were taught that immediate replies make you a good friend, a good partner, a good colleague, a good human. But the world doesn't price you by your intentions. The world prices you by your access. You don't get valued because you care. You get valued because you are scarce. You don't get respected because you explain yourself. You get respected because your time is protected. You don't gain status by being emotionally available on demand. You gain status by being strategically unavailable, without drama, without cruelty, without apology. You want the truth that burns. When you are always available, you become furniture. You become a background app. You become the emotional customer service line that everyone calls when they're bored, broken, lonely, or in need. You know exactly what I mean. You get the "Hey" text at 11:47 p.m. You get the "Can I ask you something" from the coworker who never credits you. You get the last-minute invite that is not an invite. It's a vacancy. You get the apology that isn't repentance. It's a reset button so they can spend you again. And you say yes, you show up, you answer, you soothe, you solve, you rescue. Then you watch them walk away lighter because they offloaded their chaos into you. And what do you get? A vague thanks, a delayed reply, a silence, or worse, entitlement. Your niceness becomes a clearance sale on your dignity. You need to see the mechanics. This isn't bad luck. This is economic psychology. When you make your presence cheap, you train people to treat you as cheap. When you make your attention free, you invite impulsive consumption. When you make your help automatic, you eliminate gratitude. When you make your emotional labor unlimited, you convert your identity into a public utility. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And the part that hurts the most, you didn't become accessible because you were weak. You became accessible because you were capable. You became accessible because you could handle it. You became accessible because you had empathy. You became accessible because you believed your competence would be recognized. But competence without pricing creates exploitation. If they can access you at 2 a.m., you are a convenience store, not a bank. Now here's the twist that will keep you watching. The people who get respect without trying are not magically better than you. They are just priced differently. They have installed a scarcity principle around their attention. They have engineered status signaling through limitation. And in Section 3, I'm going to reveal the exact tax you must charge toxic people so they either pay with respect or they leave. Either outcome is profit. But first, you need to understand why you keep giving when you should be withdrawing. You keep giving because you still believe life runs on fairness. You believe if you show up, they will show up. You believe if you listen, they will listen. You believe if you pour into them, they will pour into you. That is not how social hierarchy works. Social hierarchy is not built on fairness. It is built on perception. It is built on leverage. It is built on what people think they can get from you and what they fear losing. And you, without realizing it, became the easiest person to get things from. Your time is open. Your standards are negotiable. Your boundaries are flexible. Your forgiveness is pre-approved. Your attention is always in stock. So people do what humans always do in markets. They stop valuing what is abundant. They stop respecting what they can always replace. They stop protecting what they can always access. Stop for a moment and calculate the energy you waste on being understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You've been operating like water, essential, pure, generous, everywhere. And because you are everywhere, you are treated like you should be everywhere. Always. But champagne? Champagne is not morally superior to water. Champagne is expensive because it is controlled. Champagne is expensive because you do not get it by accident. Champagne is expensive because access is limited. High value is not a feeling. High value is a structure. Now look at the pattern. You respond quickly and they respond slowly. You accommodate and they consider. You apologize for existing and they act like your needs are an inconvenience. You stay consistent and they stay mysterious. You over-explain and they under-explain. You chase closure and they let silence do the work. And you think, if I just communicate better, they'll respect me. No, if your availability stays cheap, your communication becomes free entertainment. Machiavellian strategy is not about harming people. It is about refusing to be harmed by your own conditioning. It is about understanding that your presence is a resource, your attention is a currency, your empathy is a lever, and if you give it away without cost, you train contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt doesn't mean be cold. It means do not let your best parts become common. Air is vital, but it is free because it is everywhere. Gold is useless, but expensive because it is hidden. So ask yourself, precisely, strategically, with ruthless honesty, where have you made yourself air? Where have you made your loyalty automatic? Where have you made your help predictable? Where have you made your emotional labor the default? You want to be valued. Then you must become scarce where you used to be abundant. You must become deliberate where you used to be reflexive. You must become opaque where you used to be readable. And don't confuse this with playing childish games. The scarcity principle isn't a trick. It is the natural law of human valuation. The market doesn't hate you. The market responds to supply. In Section 4, you're going to see how the slow response triggers insecurity in people who tried to keep you cheap. And you'll understand why that insecurity is not your problem. It's your leverage. But before we weaponize it, you need one brutal reframe that will change how you see yourself. You think you are being yourself when you stay accessible. You think you are being authentic when you overgive. You think you are being a good person when you let people reach into your life without earning it. But what you call authenticity is often just a persona you built to survive. You built a version of you that never causes problems. You built a version of you that's easy to manage. You built a version of you that stays reasonable even when you're being disrespected. You built a version of you that can be counted on to absorb the emotional costs of other people's chaos. And that persona might be polite, intelligent, and helpful. It might even be impressive. But it is also purchasable. Because when you have no price, the world will assign you one. And the world always assigns a low price to people who are easy to access. This is where the betrayed intellectual breaks. You are not naive. You are not stupid. You see patterns. You understand systems. You can read people. So why do you still keep giving access? Because you are afraid of what happens if you stop. You are afraid you'll be called selfish. You are afraid you'll be called cold. You are afraid you'll be called arrogant. You are afraid you'll be abandoned. And you need to hear this clearly. That fear is not your conscience. That fear is your conditioning. That fear is the leash. Don't confuse being expensive with being arrogant. There is a key difference. Arrogance is loud. Expensive is quiet. Arrogance demands attention. Expensive attracts attention. Arrogance overstates value. Expensive assumes value. Arrogance explains. Expensive lets reality educate them. Your niceness is just a clearance sale on your dignity. Now here's your pattern interrupt. A prince who is easily accessed is easily despised. Not because people are evil, because access removes mystique. Access kills gravity. Access reduces you from a figure to a function, and you have been functioning for people who should have been earning you. You want the hidden mechanism? Status. Signaling is not what you say. Status signaling is what you refuse. It's what you don't rush to fix. It's the space you allow to exist without filling it with apologies. You know what low status looks like in real time? You chase, you double text, you over-explain, you justify your boundary, you negotiate your needs. You say it's okay when it's not okay. You know what high value looks like in real time? You pause, you decide, you act, you let your absence speak. Stop apologizing for your absence. Your absence is your asset. Now I'm going to answer the forbidden question directly. Is your generosity actually the reason they disrespect you? Yes. When your generosity is free access. Yes. When your generosity is a fear-based performance. Yes. When your generosity comes with no standards and no structure. Yes. When your generosity signals you do not protect your self-worth. Yes. When your generosity trains them that you will stay even when you shouldn't. Generosity with boundaries is leadership. Generosity without boundaries is liquidation. And now we install the boundary system. In the next section, you'll learn the silence tax, the exact cost you charge people for disrespect, manipulation, and entitlement. Wait until you see how quickly the social hierarchy rearranges itself when you stop being free. You don't need revenge, you need pricing. Because the most humiliating thing you can do to a manipulator is not to scream. It's not to beg. It's not to explain. It's to remove access and let them sit in the vacuum. Emotional detachment is not numbness. Emotional detachment is resource preservation. It is economic psychology applied to your nervous system. It is refusing to let your attention be hijacked by people who profit from your reaction. Here is the tactical advantage your emotionally reactive competitors will never have. You can observe without engagement. You can watch the bait. You can watch the guilt. You can watch the urgency they manufacture. And you can do nothing. You can let it hang. You can let it rot in the open air. Because you finally understand, if your reaction is predictable, you are controllable. If your reaction is optional, you are powerful. Now we weaponize the scarcity principle with 3 taxes. You will use these taxes everywhere: relationships, friendships, family systems, workplaces, negotiations. Not to harm people, to stop being harmed by access. Tax 1, the response tax. You stop responding like a servant. You stop responding like your phone is a shock collar. You stop responding like your worth depends on speed. You read the message, you breathe, you decide. And here's the part that rewires the room. You delay intentionally, not to play games, but to restore the correct social hierarchy. Because instant responses signal low demand. Strategic responses signal a life. Wait until you see how the slow response triggers insecurity in Section 5, because it exposes the truth they've been hiding from you. They were using your accessibility to stabilize their own status. Tax 2, the access tax. Not everyone gets your time. Not everyone gets your weekends. Not everyone gets your emotional labor. Not everyone gets the real you. If someone wants access, they pay, and the currency is consistent respect. You don't announce this. You don't lecture. You don't explain. You simply structure your life so access is earned. If they can access you at 2 a.m., you are a convenience store, not a bank. So you become a bank. Banks have hours. Banks have rules. Banks have security. Banks do not apologize for not being open at midnight. Tax 3. The disrespect tax. When they cross a line, you do not debate the line. You do not defend the line. You enforce the line. You withdraw. You reduce contact. You stop giving warmth to entitlement. You stop giving explanations to people who only want loopholes. You were taught that silence is passive. But in Machiavellian strategy, silence is active power. Silence is a blade that cuts access without blood. Air is vital, but it is free because it is everywhere. Gold is useless, but expensive because it is hidden. Now, a hard truth: most people fail because they are afraid of the walking away tax. They fear the moment when their boundary has to be real. So, let's make it real. The walking away tax is what you charge when someone repeatedly devalues you. It is the ultimate scarcity principle. It is the final status signaling move. It is you declaring without drama, "You do not get me at this price." And yes, people will test you when you raise your price. They will call you different. They will say you're acting brand new. They will accuse you of being cold. Good. That's the sound of their discount ending. You were taught that being accessible makes you lovable, but it makes you manageable. You were taught that being free makes you good, but it makes you forgettable. You were taught that generosity guarantees loyalty, but it guarantees something else first: demand. And demand is not love. Demand is not respect. Demand is simply consumption. You are not here to be consumed. In the next section, you're going to get the luxury protocols, the daily exact behaviors that raise your value without you ever having to announce it. And one of them is the narcissist's nightmare. The narcissist hates this one specific behavior. I'll show you why shortly. You want to become expensive? Then you need protocols, not moods. You need systems, not speeches. You need behavior that makes your self-worth undeniable. Protocol 1, the calendar crown. You schedule your life like you matter. You don't fit people in as if you are empty space. You don't keep your time loose so others can pour into it. You decide your priorities first. You build your internal empire first. Then, if someone adds value, you allow access. High value isn't what you demand. High value is what you protect. Protocol 2, the one message rule. You send one message. You make one invitation. You state one boundary. You do not chase. You do not negotiate for basic respect. You do not flood the market with follow-ups. Because the moment you chase, you tell them you are cheap. The moment you beg, you tell them Access is free. The moment you over-explain, you tell them you fear losing them more than you value yourself. Protocol 3. Emotional austerity. This is where you become untouchable. Emotional austerity means you stop donating your inner world to people who have not earned it. You stop narrating your pain to people who enjoy your weakness. You stop confessing your plans to people who compete with you. If you master emotional austerity, they can never hurt you again. Not because you become heartless, but because you become fortified. Your psyche becomes a silent fortress. Your attention becomes a strategic resource to be withdrawn. This is manipulation defense at the highest level. You stop giving manipulators the data they use against you. Protocol 4. Strategic silence. You don't respond to bait. You don't respond to passive aggression. You don't respond to guilt campaigns. You let their tactic die in the open. And here's the psychological warfare detail most people never understand. When you refuse to react, you force them to sit with themselves. You force them to feel the insecurity they were trying to dump into you. You force them to face the fact that you are not their emotional trash can. The narcissist hates this one specific behavior. You become boring to manipulate. You don't fight. You don't plead. You don't prove. You simply become unreachable to their games. Protocol 5. The price raise script. You won't always need words, but sometimes you will. So keep it surgical. You say, that doesn't work for me. You say, I'm not available. You say, I'll think about it. You say, no. You say it once. You do not decorate it with apologies. You were taught that X, being endlessly accommodating, makes you good. But Machiavelli knew that Y, controlled access, creates respect. And you will feel resistance. You will feel guilt. You will feel that old programming surge up. I'm being mean. No, you are being priced. That guilt is the system's last defense. That guilt is how people keep you free. Because a free person is a resource. An expensive person is a problem for anyone trying to use them. Now watch what happens when you implement this for 7 days. You will notice people becoming more careful with you. You will notice people checking in instead of demanding. You will notice some people disappearing. Good. That's the trash taking itself out. You will notice some people stepping up because they finally understand access has a cost. That is social economics. That is power dynamics. That is status signaling without theatrics. That is the scarcity mindset, used cleanly, used strategically, used to defend your self-worth. And this connects directly to the money laws we discuss here. Value is never what you say it is. Value is what the market pays. And in human relationships, the market pays in respect, effort, consistency, and restraint. Now you're ready for the final conversion. Commodity to luxury, used to respected, reactive to sovereign. You have raised your price. Now you must keep it raised. You do that with one rule. And it's the same rule billionaires use daily, whether they admit it or not. They do not subsidize disrespect. They do not over-deliver to underqualified buyers. They do not chase clients who want discounts. They do not explain their worth to people who can't afford it. Neither will you. You are not here to be free. You are here to be expensive. You started this video as the commodity. You were always there. You were always reachable. You were always explaining. You were always forgiving. You were always fixing. And you were treated accordingly. Now you see the mechanism. Now you see the scarcity principle. Now you see the economic psychology beneath every relationship problem you thought was personal. Now you see that power dynamics are not moral. They're structural. Your value is set by you, not them. Raise the price today. So here is your initiation. Not tomorrow, today. Ignore one text message for 6 hours today. Feel the power. Not because you're punishing them, because you are curing yourself. You are breaking the addiction to accessibility. You are proving to your nervous system that the world doesn't end when you stop being free. And if you feel guilt rising, good. That guilt is the chain. Let it rattle. Don't pick it up. If you're ready to stop being a used nice person and become a respected strategist, drop "I am expensive" in the comments. Make it public. Make it real. Make it your line in the sand. And subscribe, not for motivation, not for comfort, but for weapons. Join the high-value minority. Join the people who build internal empires. Join the silent strategists who understand social hierarchy, Machiavellian strategy, manipulation defense, and emotional intelligence as tools of dominance, not decoration. You have raised your price. Now learn the final truth about human nature that Jung took to his grave. Watch this, and whatever you do, don't stop now. The on-screen video matters more than you think. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. I'll see you there. See what others miss. Know what others fear. Become who others can't.